Welcome to the colonies, friend. We have been expecting your shipment.
The furs are of excellent quality this season.
These silks just arrived from London. The finest quality.
Truly splendid. A testament to our shared prosperity.
A stunning demonstration of electric fire, wouldn't you agree? Indeed, sir. Though I wonder how the clergy will reconcile.
Sail south for just 2 days and step into paradise, Philadelphia, where Quakers, Catholics, Jews, Muslims, Anglicans, Lutherans, and even atheists live on the same street, work together, worship freely, and nobody, absolutely nobody, cares what you believe as long as you don't hurt others. Imagine walking from the most controlled religious society in history directly into the freest religious society in history in just 2 days of travel. But here's what's going to blow your mind. This isn't just tolerance. This is the most radical social experiment in human civilization. One man's impossible dream that succeeded so completely, it created the template for everything we call America today. And that man? He was considered the most dangerous heretic in the Christian world. Yet his dangerous ideas built the most prosperous, most peaceful, most innovative city in colonial America. This is the story of how religious freedom was born. Not through laws or constitutions, but through one incredible city that proved tolerance creates wealth, diversity generates innovation, and freedom builds prosperity beyond anything religious control ever achieved. But there's something else. Something about Philadelphia that's going to shock you even more than religious tolerance. Because by 1740, this city will be home to the most important person in American history, someone whose discoveries will change science, whose inventions will change technology, whose ideas will change the world. His name is Benjamin Franklin. And the story of how a printer's apprentice from Puritan Boston escaped to Quaker Philadelphia and became the most influential American who ever lived. That story explains everything about why America became America, the impossible beginning. Let me take you back to where this miracle began. England, 1681. King Charles II owes a massive debt to Admiral William Penn, who has just died. The debt is so large it could bankrupt the royal treasury. But William Penn's son has an idea. A crazy, impossible, revolutionary idea that everyone, and I mean everyone, thinks will fail catastrophically. Don't pay us money, young William Penn tells the king. Give us land. Specifically, give us a huge chunk of America where we can build something that's never existed before, a society based on religious tolerance. Picture the reaction. The Anglican Church is horrified. The Puritan leaders are outraged. Catholic authorities are suspicious. Even other Quakers think Penn has lost his mind. Why? Because in 1681, religious tolerance doesn't exist anywhere on earth. Not in England, not in France, not in Spain, not in the Holy Roman Empire. Nowhere. Every society is built on one simple principle. Religious unity creates political stability. Different faiths cannot coexist. Mixed religions always lead to civil war, chaos, and societal collapse. This isn't theory. It's proven historical fact. The 30 Years' War killed millions because Protestants and Catholics tried to coexist. The English Civil War nearly destroyed Britain because Anglicans and Puritans couldn't agree. Religious difference equals political destruction. But William Penn believes something different, something revolutionary, something that sounds insane to every educated person in 1681. Religious diversity creates strength. Different faiths working together generate prosperity. Freedom of conscience produces better citizens than forced conformity. And he's about to prove it by building the most successful city in America. The Quaker Revolution begins. October 1682. William Penn steps onto the shore of what will become Philadelphia, carrying with him the most radical governing document in human history. Listen to what he writes. No person inhabiting this province, who shall confess and acknowledge the one almighty and eternal God to be the Creator, upholder and ruler of the world, shall in any case be molested or prejudiced for their conscientious persuasion or practice. Do you understand what this means? This is 1682. The Inquisition is still burning heretics. Protestants and Catholics are still killing each other across Europe, and William Penn just declared that everyone can worship whatever they want in his colony. But here's the part that makes this truly revolutionary. Penn doesn't just tolerate other religions, he actively recruits them. Picture Penn's agents traveling across Europe with an impossible sales pitch. Come to Pennsylvania, bring your faith, whatever it is, practice it openly, build your churches, raise your children in your traditions, and we guarantee that not only will you be safe, you'll prosper. The response is immediate and overwhelming. Persecuted religious minorities from across Europe start packing their belongings and heading for Penn's colony. German Mennonites fleeing Catholic persecution, French Huguenots escaping Protestant suppression, Welsh Quakers seeking religious freedom, English Baptists wanting worship autonomy, Dutch Reformed communities looking for peaceful practice. But Penn doesn't stop there. He does something that shocks even his own supporters. He writes personal letters to Jewish communities in Europe, inviting them to Philadelphia with complete religious freedom and full citizenship rights. In 1682, Jews have been expelled from England, massacred across Eastern Europe, and forced into ghettos throughout the continent. No Christian society has ever voluntarily invited Jewish immigration with full religious rights. Penn's advisors think he's committed political suicide. His Quaker supporters worry he's gone too far. His European critics predict immediate disaster. Instead, something miraculous happens. The miracle of coexistence. By 1700, Philadelphia has become something that doesn't exist anywhere else on Earth. A functioning multi-religious society. Picture walking down Market Street on a typical Sunday morning. The Quaker meeting house is full of silent worshippers seeking divine light within themselves. The Anglican Church resonates with formal liturgy and traditional hymns. The Catholic chapel celebrates Mass in Latin with incense and ceremonial grandeur. The German Lutheran congregation sings powerful chorales in their native language. The Baptist Church conducts full immersion baptisms in the Delaware River. The Presbyterian Assembly debates theological fine points with intellectual passion. And in houses throughout the city, Jewish families celebrate Sabbath with ancient traditions maintained for thousands of years, while their Christian neighbors respect their different practices and even protect their right to observe different holy days. This should be chaos. This should be conflict. This should be civil war. Instead, it's prosperity beyond anything anyone imagined. Here's what nobody predicted. When people stop fighting about religion, they start cooperating on everything else: trade, manufacturing, science, education, innovation. Religious diversity creates economic advantage. Different communities bring different skills, different trade connections, different knowledge systems. Mennonites excel at agriculture. Quakers dominate shipping. Germans master craftsmanship. Jews develop international finance networks. By 1710, Philadelphia ships carry more cargo than Boston. Philadelphia banks hold more capital than New York. Philadelphia workshops produce higher quality goods than any other American city. But there's something else happening. Something even more revolutionary than economic success. The children growing up in this multi-religious environment are different. They're learning something no previous generation in human history has learned. People can believe completely different things about God and still be good neighbors, honest business partners, loyal friends. They're discovering that religious difference doesn't threaten society, it enriches society. Enter Benjamin Franklin. October 6, 1723. A 17-year-old boy steps off a boat in Philadelphia, carrying almost no money, no connections, and no prospects. He's just escaped from Boston, where his Puritan master treated him like property, and his Puritan society offered no future for independent thinking. His name is Benjamin Franklin, and he's about to prove that Philadelphia's religious tolerance creates something unprecedented, genius without limits. Picture young Franklin walking through Philadelphia for the first time. He's come from Boston, where every book is censored, every idea is scrutinized, Every thought is judged for religious correctness, where printing the wrong pamphlet could destroy your life, and questioning religious authority could get you expelled from the community. Now he's in a city where the printing shops display books in a dozen languages, where coffee houses buzz with debates about science, philosophy, religion, and politics, where nobody cares what you believe as long as your ideas are interesting. For a brilliant young mind raised in religious oppression, Philadelphia feels like paradise. Within months, Franklin is not just surviving, he's thriving. The same curiosity and questioning that made him dangerous in Boston makes him valuable in Philadelphia. The same intellectual independence that threatened Puritan conformity creates innovation opportunities in Quaker tolerance. But here's what makes Franklin's story truly remarkable. He doesn't just succeed in Philadelphia's tolerant environment, he becomes the living embodiment of what religious freedom can produce. Watch what Franklin accomplishes by 1750. He revolutionizes printing technology, making books and newspapers more affordable and accessible. He invents the lightning rod, proving that science can harness natural forces previously attributed to divine intervention. He founds the first public library, the first volunteer fire department, the first public hospital. He conducts experiments that earn him honorary degrees from European universities. He develops political theories that will influence the Constitution. He builds business networks that span 3 continents. But here's the most important part. Franklin could never have achieved any of this in Puritan Boston. The religious control that maintained social order also crushed individual genius. The conformity that prevented chaos also prevented innovation. Only in Philadelphia's atmosphere of religious tolerance could Franklin's mind develop its full potential. Only in a society that welcomed different ideas could his revolutionary thinking flourish. Franklin proves William Penn's most radical theory. Freedom of conscience doesn't just create better religious life, it creates better everything. The economic miracle, but Franklin's genius is just one example of what's happening throughout Philadelphia. By 1730, the city has become an economic powerhouse that's shocking everyone, including Penn's supporters. Here's what nobody expected. Religious tolerance creates unprecedented prosperity. Think about it economically. In Puritan Boston, entire economic sectors are forbidden because they're considered sinful. Theater, banned. Most music, prohibited. Fine arts, discouraged. Fashion, regulated. Entertainment, controlled. In Catholic Maryland, Protestant merchants face legal restrictions. In Anglican Virginia, dissenting religious groups can't hold certain offices or access certain opportunities. But in Philadelphia, everyone competes on merit alone. Your religion doesn't determine your economic opportunities. Your faith doesn't limit your trade partnerships. Your beliefs don't restrict your innovations. The results are extraordinary. German immigrants bring advanced brewing techniques, creating Philadelphia's beer industry. Dutch settlers contribute sophisticated banking methods, establishing financial systems that rival London. French juggernauts introduce luxury manufacturing, producing goods that European aristocrats prefer to domestic products. Jewish merchants develop international trade networks that connect Philadelphia to markets in Amsterdam, London, Hamburg, and even Constantinople. Quaker ship owners earn reputations for honesty that make their cargo trusted throughout the Atlantic world. By 1740, Philadelphia's per capita wealth exceeds every other American city. Port traffic surpasses Boston. Manufacturing output leads the colonies. Population growth attracts skilled workers from across the Atlantic. But the real economic revolution isn't in specific industries. It's in the innovation culture that religious tolerance creates. When people aren't spending energy maintaining religious conformity, they redirect that energy towards solving practical problems. When communities don't fear different ideas, they experiment with new techniques. When societies don't suppress curiosity, they discover better methods. Philadelphia becomes America's innovation center, not by accident, but because freedom of conscience creates freedom of thought, and freedom of thought creates technological advancement, political innovation. But Philadelphia's revolution extends far beyond economics. By 1750, this city is quietly developing political ideas that will change the world. Here's what's happening. Religious tolerance is teaching Philadelphians that diversity creates strength rather than weakness, that different perspectives improve decision-making rather than threatening it, that pluralism generates better solutions than uniformity, and they're beginning to apply these lessons to government itself. Picture the political discussions in Philadelphia's coffee houses in 1750. Franklin and his friends are debating questions that no previous generation has seriously considered. What if political authority came from citizen consent rather than divine right? What if government power was limited by written constitutions rather than royal prerogative? What if religious freedom was guaranteed by law rather than dependent on ruler tolerance? These aren't just theoretical discussions. Philadelphia's success has proven that religious diversity works in practice. Now they're wondering, if religious pluralism creates prosperous society, could political pluralism create better government? The answer will come in 1776, when Philadelphia becomes the birthplace of American independence. But the intellectual foundation is being laid right now, in conversations between people who learned religious tolerance and are discovering its political implications. Here's the crucial connection. The same William Penn who created religious freedom also designed Pennsylvania's government with unprecedented democratic elements, representative assemblies, written laws, protected rights, limited authority. Philadelphians are living under the most free government in the world, and they're discovering that political freedom works just like religious freedom. It creates prosperity rather than chaos, strength rather than weakness. By 1760, political theorists throughout Europe are studying the Pennsylvania experiment to understand how democratic elements can function without destroying social order. Philadelphia is proving that freedom works, not just religious freedom, but political freedom, economic freedom, intellectual freedom, the cultural flowering. But Philadelphia's revolution creates something even more profound than religious tolerance, economic prosperity, or political innovation. It creates America's first true cultural renaissance. Picture the intellectual life of Philadelphia in 1750. The American Philosophical Society, founded by Franklin, brings together the brightest minds from every religious background and every colonial region to discuss science, literature, philosophy, and arts. Quaker physicians work with Anglican scholars to advance medical knowledge. German craftsmen collaborate with English inventors to improve manufacturing techniques. Jewish merchants share international perspectives with Presbyterian ministers studying world religions. The University of Pennsylvania, chartered in 1751, becomes America's first truly non-sectarian college. Unlike Harvard's Puritan orthodoxy or William and Mary's Anglican conformity, Penn admits students regardless of religious background and teaches subjects based on merit rather than doctrinal correctness. Philadelphia's newspapers print ideas that would be censored in Boston or banned in Virginia. The city's libraries collect books from every major religious and philosophical tradition. Local theaters present plays that explore complex moral questions without predetermined religious answers. But the cultural flowering extends beyond elite intellectual circles. Philadelphia's religious tolerance has created something unprecedented, a genuinely diverse urban culture where different traditions enrich each other rather than threatening each other. German Christmas markets introduce new holiday customs. Jewish scholarship contributes to legal and financial education. Quaker emphasis on inner light influences artistic expression. Anglican liturgical music enhances concert performances. By 1760, European visitors consistently report that Philadelphia offers the most sophisticated cultural life in America. Not because it's rejected religion, but because it's embraced religious diversity and discovered that different traditions create richer culture than single traditions. Here's what's truly remarkable. Philadelphia proves that you don't need religious uniformity to create cultural unity. Instead, shared commitment to tolerance and freedom creates deeper social bonds than shared doctrine ever could. The great contrast. By 1760, the contrast between Philadelphia and other colonial cities has become impossible to ignore, and that contrast explains everything about why America developed the way it did. Travel from Philadelphia to Boston, and you move from the freest society in America to the most controlled. Boston's Puritan system is collapsing under its own contradictions. The witch trials shattered community trust. Economic restrictions are reducing prosperity. Intellectual control is driving away talent. Young people are leaving Boston for Philadelphia, seeking opportunities that religious conformity can't provide. Businesses are relocating to escape Puritan regulations. Even Harvard graduates are finding better opportunities in Philadelphia's tolerant environment. Visit New York and you'll find a commercial success, but one limited by Dutch-English cultural tensions and Anglican political restrictions. Talented people from minority religious backgrounds face barriers unknown in Philadelphia. Journey south to Virginia, and you encounter plantation prosperity, but built on slave labor and limited to Anglican elite. Religious dissenters face legal disabilities, while economic opportunities depend on accepting established hierarchy. But Philadelphia offers something different. Success based on merit, rather than background. Prosperity through inclusion, rather than exclusion. Innovation through diversity, rather than conformity. By 1760, Philadelphia has become what immigration officials today would call a magnet city, a place that attracts talent from everywhere because it offers opportunities unavailable anywhere else. European intellectuals tour America specifically to study Philadelphia's tolerance experiment. British officials worry that Pennsylvania's religious freedom is attracting too many immigrants. Even Catholic and Lutheran authorities acknowledge that their persecuted minorities achieve greater prosperity in Penn's colony than in their own countries. Philadelphia proves that William Penn was right. Religious tolerance doesn't threaten civilization. It creates civilization's highest achievements. But there's something else Philadelphia proves, something that will become the foundation of American identity. Freedom works, not just as moral principle, but as practical policy that creates better outcomes than any alternative system. The approaching revolution, by 1770, Philadelphia has become something its founders never anticipated, the natural capital of American independence. Here's why. Philadelphia's success has attracted the most talented people from every colony. The city's religious tolerance has created intellectual freedom. Its economic prosperity has generated resources for political action. Its political innovations have developed democratic expertise. When the American colonies need to coordinate resistance to British policies, they naturally turn to Philadelphia as meeting place. When they need to draft a Declaration of Independence, they choose Philadelphia as location. When they need to write a constitution, they gather in Philadelphia's State House. This isn't accident, it's inevitable. Philadelphia has spent nearly a century proving that freedom creates success. Now America needs to prove the same thing on a continental scale. The lessons learned in Philadelphia will become America's founding principles. Religious liberty protects everyone's rights. Economic freedom creates prosperity. Political freedom generates better government. Intellectual freedom produces innovation. The tolerance revolution that began with William Penn's impossible dream will become the American Revolution's practical foundation. But here's what makes Philadelphia's story truly remarkable. This city succeeded not by rejecting the past, but by fulfilling the best promises of human civilization. Not by destroying religious tradition, but by allowing all religious traditions to flourish together. Philadelphia proves that humanity's highest ideals, tolerance, freedom, prosperity, innovation, aren't just dreams. They're practical policies that work better than any alternative yet discovered. The eternal lesson. Standing in Philadelphia today, you can still see the city that William Penn built and Benjamin Franklin perfected. Independence Hall, where America was born. Christ Church, where George Washington worshipped. The Liberty Bell that announced freedom to the world. But in 1750, this wasn't historical monument. It was living proof that impossible dreams can become practical reality. Imagine one final moment. Picture yourself walking down Market Street at sunset in 1760. Quaker families head home from simple worship, while Catholic neighbors return from elaborate mass. German craftsmen close workshops while Jewish merchants balance books. Anglican professionals discuss business, while Presbyterian scholars debate theology. Church bells ring across the city, not in conflict, but in harmony. Different faiths marking the same hour in different ways, creating a symphony of tolerance that had never existed before in human history. You're witnessing the birth of the American idea, that diversity creates strength, that freedom generates prosperity, that tolerance builds community stronger than any conformity ever could. The Philadelphia experiment succeeded so completely that it became the template for the United States experiment, and that American experiment succeeded so completely that it became the inspiration for freedom movements around the world, all because one man believed something revolutionary, that religious tolerance was possible, that freedom worked better than control, that trusting people to make their own choices created better outcomes than forcing them to make prescribed choices. William Penn's impossible dream became Benjamin Franklin's practical laboratory, which became America's founding vision, which became humanity's continuing hope. The revolution that started in Philadelphia isn't finished yet. Every time someone chooses tolerance over prejudice, diversity over conformity, freedom over control, they're continuing the work that began in one remarkable city nearly 3 centuries ago. That's all for our journey through Philadelphia's tolerance revolution. If there's another moment when impossible dreams became practical reality, another place where freedom proved its worth, another story about how ordinary people created extraordinary change, let me know in the comments. Because the real American story isn't about perfect people building perfect society. It's about imperfect people discovering that freedom allows them to build something better than perfection. A society where everyone can become their best selves without destroying anyone else's opportunity to do the same.